Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're thrilled to have you join us for interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. These insightful discussions and the Positive Aging Sourcebook are brought to you thanks to the support from our Positive Aging Community champions. Visit proaging.com to connect with them and discover hundreds of valuable other resources. We're excited to have you with us today, so let's jump into an engaging Positive Aging live and interactive discussion. All right, folks, today I'm excited to be with Mary Eck, and we're going to be talking about Dementia-Friendly America. Mary, I'm so excited to have you here today and learn more about this initiative. But before we dive in to the topic of Dementia-Friendly America, let's get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for inviting us to be on your podcast today and for your support of Dementia-Friendly America. So a bit about me. As it relates to this work, I actually began this work back in 2011 in Minnesota. I live in Minnesota, and this work began as a statewide initiative called Act on Alzheimer's in Minnesota. And I was part of the group that kind of led the effort to get this going in Minnesota before it was handed off as a national initiative in 2015. So I started my career as an educator and then kind of had a big family after that and was exploring project management and was asked to be part of this work in 2011. And it has just, gone on from there. I rejoined the effort in 2022 at working for U.S. Aging remotely from Minnesota, and that was just a huge privilege to be able to jump back into this effort and to see how it's grown. And I imagine we'll be sharing more about that after.
Yeah, well, holy cow. I had no idea that you are literally on the ground floor of Dementia-Friendly America. That is amazing. And well, tell us a little bit about what this is exciting that it's under the how is US Aging, the national organization that connects all the area agencies on aging, how is US Aging involved with Dementia-Friendly America?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how it all evolved, Steve. The work began in Minnesota, as I mentioned, and it really took off through the area agencies on aging in Minnesota. So they kind of started the efforts in their areas, started the community efforts and engaging in this work. And, it occurred to us as we were doing that, we can make this a national effort, and who would be the backbone of it. And so when it was adopted as a national effort at the White House Conference on Aging in 2015, we are grateful that US Aging, then N4A, the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging, they stepped up to serve as the administrators. US Aging is the membership organization and advocacy organization for the area agencies on aging nationwide, as well as the Title VI programs. So knowing that they had that reach through their AAAs, it felt like a natural fit. So kind of modeling after the work that was done in Minnesota and then bringing that to a national audience. And they've been incredible. I don't want to say partners in this work. They've been powering the Dementia-Friendly America movement since 2015.
I love it. Now, you shared some slides with me. Let's really, it would be great, I think, if you could define what Dementia-Friendly America is, and then talk a little bit about the pillars.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dementia-Friendly America is a community effort that crosses all sectors of the community. So it's essentially a multi-sector approach to creating communities where people living with dementia and their care partners can live, engage, thrive, play, and just live well with dementia for as long as they can, and to remain in their homes with a care partner, knowing that they have the support of the community. Um, it's interesting because people will often say, well, who can engage in this work? And we are not, it's not just healthcare, it's not physicians, although they are using our tools and using our, we have different curriculums to create dementia-friendly environments in healthcare settings. But this is really for any individual to engage in. And part of our work has been educating communities and about why it's important to engage in this work and how simple it can be to engage in this work. Um, yeah, so
What one thing that we're doing is I've been interviewing your colleagues on these pillars, and we've got dementia-friendly communities, dementia friends, and memory cafes. You Folks can dive into more long form discussions on those three pillars, but would you like to take a crack at just giving us a broad overview of those three pillars?
absolutely. So, as you can see on the slide here, we're so grateful that you're speaking to the experts in each of these areas on additional podcasts. But so Dementia Friendly America is, it started as an initiative and really at the community level where communities said, we can do this. Who are we going to start working with? And so they may have said, how are we going to make our faith communities more dementia friendly? What about our libraries? And so it's starting small and expanding, and it truly is a ripple effect. And so as we've grown with Dementia Friendly America, we have we have seen our communities grow. We've had over 400 communities engaging in this work. And that's, again, where sectors throughout the community come together to equip their community to support people living with dementia and their care partners. But we also have an individual effort, and that's our Dementia Friends program. That was adopted a year later. We became the sublicense holders. It's an effort that began in Japan and is worldwide, but we hold the sublicense for Dementia Friends USA, and that's where an individual attends a session where they can change the way they think, act, and respond to people living with dementia. So they learn how to recognize the signs of dementia, communication tips, and then, they commit to take action as a dementia friend, whether that's supporting a neighbor, engaging in their local dementia friendly effort, encouraging someone else to become a dementia friend, or simply just, knowing how to respond to a family member that may be living with dementia. And that has really taken off and often serves as a catalyst for a community effort. I believe we have just hit 225,000 dementia friends in the US, and that number continues to grow. We have sessions offered in over 40 states where you can attend an in-person session. And if you can't attend an in-person session, we have an online opportunity for someone to become a dementia friend online. So truly a way for any individual to get engaged, because we find that it's not that people don't want to engage and be supportive of people living with dementia, they just don't know how. And so that causes them to just, we want to teach people to walk toward people living with dementia rather than away. And it's really quite simple. So that, again, that's another one of our pillars, is the individual approach to creating a dementia-friendly community. And then our newest partnership has been the Memory Cafe Alliance, which has, been such an incredible partnership. The alignment is so clear. So, and you'll be hearing, from one of our champions, Beth Salzberg, talking more deeply about memory cafes. But essentially, memory cafes are an opportunity for a person living with dementia and their care partner or loved one to go and spend time together and engage in music or an activity with other people living with dementia and their care partners in just a safe, welcoming environment where it's not about the diagnosis. It's about just celebrating all that they can do and enjoy together. It's a free gathering where there's usually food served, there's music, some, possibly entertainment, a craft, just something to do and enjoy time with each other. And we host the directory on our Dementia Friendly America website. We have over 500 cafes throughout the US that are listed, and that number continues to grow. And if someone is interested in starting a memory cafe, they can also go to our website and learn how to do that. We have an online curriculum for people to get started in this work. And it couples so well with Dementia Friends because oftentimes they'll use start with a Dementia Friends training, and then you can move, and then that starts the process for being able to run a memory cafe.
Man, I love it. Now, you'd mentioned these are free and all these resources. I've been on your website. There's so many free resources. Out of curiosity, how is all of this funded?
That's a great question. And we just launched our donation page, so please feel free to check that out. Um, unlike US Aging, which is, the area agencies on aging receive funding through the Older Americans Act, Dementia Friendly America does not receive federal funding. So we are a separate program, while serving much of the same audience. But we rely on foundations, grants, just private philanthropy, and then our generous donors to keep this work going. And as I mentioned, Steve, what's been exciting jumping into this role, when we handed it off as a national initiative back in 2015, we had 6 communities, and now we've grown to over 400.
Holy
Our
cow.
Dementia Friends has grown to 225,000. So just to come back and see that the momentum continues, and they look different across the board. We have some efforts that are completely volunteer driven. We have some that are living within a department on aging, and that's who's supporting the work. Faith communities that are getting it started, aging organizations that are taking the lead in their communities with all different kinds of funding, and just local foundations that are supporting efforts at the local level. So it's really been fun to see, this flexible model that we've adopted, just saying, get started, and here are resources for you, and they're public facing and they can adapt them to their community. It's really turned this into a movement, and it's exciting and it's necessary.
And this is a great opportunity for me to share the slide promoting the upcoming Dementia Friendsgiving, which is a great way for folks to support this initiative financially, which is totally optional, but more importantly, connect with other people involved with this movement, hear stories. It's really going to be a wonderful day on Tuesday, November 18th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. Care to add anything that I may have missed regarding that event?
Just we have lots of reasons to celebrate, and to celebrate the champions that are engaged in this work. And really, when they came up with I can't take credit for calling it a Dementia Friendsgiving, but how incredible, this name is, because that's exactly what it is. And as a dementia friend, you are giving to people living with dementia and their care partners. And we're so excited for this opportunity to highlight our community efforts, our Dementia Friends efforts, to hear from, champions who've been engaged in this work for many, many years, to celebrate 10 years of Dementia Friendly America, and then to just build momentum for this movement and get people engaged on a broader scale. We'll have a toolkit following for family and friends and care partners to use as they have their own Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving celebrations, holiday celebrations coming up, in the fall and in the winter. And so just kind of hands-on materials that they can use as they're preparing to spend time with their loved ones living with dementia. Just
Yeah,
so excited to bring these folks together because they have been working so hard and making such a difference.
Yeah, and talking about the resources, you shared this slide with me that talks about your sector guides that provide information and resources on specific topics, and those are also available for folks.
Yep, those live on our website. We are in the process of updating those as well, but they are currently on our website. And if you take a look, you can see specific to the faith sector, to first
Mhm.
responders, to banks, to businesses, and how each of those sectors can make their sector more dementia friendly.
Man, this is amazing. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I could talk to you for about this. We could dive down a lot of different rabbit holes, but is there anything that we've missed that you'd like to share with our audience about dementia-friendly America or otherwise?
You know, Steve, I think it's just, important for people to know that this isn't just a feel-good effort. This is real. And given, the state of healthcare, given the number of people that are caring for their loved one in their home, we need to step up. Dementia has become, an issue of public health. And when we look at the rates of dementia in 65 and older, and the baby boomers reaching 65 and older, we need to step up as community members, and we can. It's, here, Dementia Friendly America is providing a clearinghouse of resources to equip you to be supportive, not just of your loved ones, but of your fellow community members. And that's what we're called to do. And so
Mhm.
these efforts not only help people living with dementia and their care partners, but they help everybody who might need an accommodation or just needs to be seen or just given a little bit more, a little more assistance, to be seen for who they are and how they're navigating community. And it's time to come together and do that. So really no excuses. The resources are out there. We're here to help. And so there's it, and it feels good to be able to help.
Mhm.
And I know that deep down people want to. And so we're here to equip them to do that so that they feel comfortable and capable.
I love it. This has really been an amazing conversation, and I'm really excited to share this with our community and the community at large, as well as the other follow-up uh, podcasts that we've got scheduled with those three pillars that we talked about. Um, Thanks so much
Yeah,
for your time
yeah.
today. This has been great, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Steve. We're really excited for where we are and where we're heading. It's just going to get bigger and better the more people
All
get
right.
engaged and commit to this work.
And then I'll see you in November at the Friendsgiving. Looking forward to
Yes,
that as well.
we are fortunate to have you hosting the event, so it'll be a great time. I hope everyone can make it.
Me too. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Steve.